This is, crimes against the soul and still not worse than playing rock and roll. Go ahead.
Very footloose, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thou
yeah,
shalt
you're
not
right. Yeah,
dance.
it all comes down to the dancing. We should never let dancing
Yeah.
get us down. That's funny. I didn't think about it, but you're spot on. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy. That's John over there. Yes, John, power to the people. And today we're going to be doing what we do every day, at least Monday through Friday, which is listen to music shared. Either me to him, him to me, one of y'all to one of us. It's a music sharing operation that we have working over here, and John's going to offer up something for me to go off and listen to. So, John, please inform me and the rest of the audience what we're working with today, buddy.
Okay, so, band that we have covered before, a much loved band, The Stranglers.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Another one of the bands you've given me where they're pretty hard pressed to miss. So I'd be interested to hear if they're going to continue batting 1,000 here.
Yeah, so this song is called brackets, get a, in brackets, grip, brackets, on yourself, in brackets.
Okay. Do people call the song Grip or do they just call it Get a Grip on Yourself?
Get a grip of yourself is what most
I
people would
was
say, I
gonna
think.
say.
I think some people do call it grip, but I don't know if you're American, isn't that something to do with a bag?
Yeah.
Is that your grip, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, get it or just like if you want a multitude of something, like get a grip of that. You want like a
Yeah.
grip of,
All right.
you know. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, but in this country, it's probably more to do with how should I put it, courting. But anyway, moving on.
Oh, Christ. Okay. Well, let me get a grip on things here and
There
give the
you
stragglers
go.
a listen, and I'll come back and let you know my thoughts. Love how it just started with that solely, was it Greenfield, I think his name is, on the keys. I'm trying to remember these names. Some of them I do pretty well on. Like, I know it's Cornwell as the singer, but I think it's Greenfield who is sort of the mastermind behind the keys. And he comes in with the one, two, three, four, and then on five they all come in, and then that unleashes this rhythm section of Jet Black, I think, on the drums, and then is it Jean-Jacques Burnel? I think that chugging motif on the bass, which is already, I mean, it's early days, but you can tell it's a pretty relentless sound they're going for. And there's that nice strumming pattern that's happening, and it's with great rapidity that's going on there with the guitar. So yeah, it all sounds really good thus far. I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. I've loved everything we've done by the Stranglers, though, thus far, to varying degrees. I guess we will figure out where Get a Grip on Yourself falls.
Didn't have the money round to buy a Murray foul. Been around and seen a lot to shake me anyhow. Begged and borrowed, sometimes I admit I even stole. The worst crime that I ever did was playing rock and roll. But the money's not good.
This fluttery butterfly motif on the keys, at first it was much more just punctuated kind of chords, and once your man starts singing there, they take on this whole other sound, right? It's like this trill off on the notes, and it does have this like a butterfly on crack cocaine, flying around all over the place. It's really cool and interesting sounding though. Um, an interesting narrative thus far, talking about like, you know, a crime that he may have committed may have been stealing, as it relates to like money and so forth, but his greatest crime was playing rock and roll. Interesting.
Just get a grip on yourself. But the money's no good. Just get a grip on yourself. Suffering convictions on a two-way stretching side. The air in here is pretty thick, I think I'll go outside. Committed for insanity and crimes against the soul. The worst crime that I ever did was play some rock and roll. But the money's no good. Just get a grip on yourself.
Sounds like saxophone.
But the money's no good. Just get a grip on yourself.
I wonder if that's Greenfield on two different sets of keys. Like he's playing something like this synth facsimile of a saxophone while playing that fluttery motif on another set of keys. I don't know. I hope I find out, because I've yet to see a sax player, and I've never really associated one with the four gents in the Stranglers.
And you should know.
This still doesn't verify that one of them is generating whatever that sax sound is during, I think it's the chorus, but he's got a lot of tools at his disposal, so I'm assuming that's where it's coming from.
Rub my eyes and hope the world will last. Stranger from another planet, welcome to our hole. Just strap on your guitar and we'll play some rock and roll. But the money's no good. Just get a grip on yourself. But the money's no good. Just get a grip on yourself. And you should know.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to not enjoy a track by these guys at this point. I will say it's probably not up there with some of my favorites, but this was enjoyable. And I've got questions, as I normally do at this point. You know what I mean? Like I always enjoy listening to the songs, but they always leave me with a few bits and pieces to scratch my head on about and to chop up further with John. I'm interested, like that. The first two verses alluded to like this, these past indiscretions and how comparatively they don't match the criminality of, you know, playing rock and roll or whatever. which I'm sure isn't to be taken literally. But then the last verse seemed like this sort of like veiled allusion to um, kind of this resignation that you are where you are, and you've gotten to where you've got, and this, I don't know, this passage of time with, I think he said like week by week or week to week, and that just suggests again time moving forward. And then there was like this welcoming this alien or outsider into it, into like this, I guess, this rock and roll scene, which I don't know what that is a metaphor for, what they're incorporating into it. It's interesting nonetheless. I mean, it's not a turnoff. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it so I can better understand it. I'm sure if there's been anything written about this or, discussed, that John will have his finger on the pulse of that. So hopefully he can help me out with that. Uh, Also, we've talked about this, I think, in most of our discussions surrounding this band, that Greenfield really is this sort of ace in the hole or Swiss Army knife that adds to their sound. I mean, there's plenty of bands out there that are great and don't have this sort of like master keyboardist and, sort of arrangement expert. Um, and they're great, but these guys, while also being great, I mean, add this extra sound or sort of distinct attribute to their sound, and it comes oftentimes, I've found, in the form of Greenfield's added textures and layers and these multiples that he adds to the tracks. I am going to assume, and I'll be corrected and wear the egg on my face if it's not him who added that bit of saxophone-like sound during the choruses, but you have that. You have the overall wildly earwormy, fluttery, trill-based kind of manic motif played on the keys. And then during the one part where it's sort of his section to shine, where there's no, where he's not complimenting any like exposition or the narrative, where he goes from that flightier bit to this darker almost sound. I mean, it's kind of a little bit, comparatively speaking, a bit more menacing sounding, and then he shifts back into that higher stuff. So all of this is interesting from just a adding variation standpoint, and kind of he's good at like the band is good at subverting expectations, or perhaps it's just me coming in here listening to like this, punk stroke post punk, whatever you want to call it, band, and you have this element to it that I don't know, for me, I'm not always like going into listening to that genre thinking, yup, the multiple layers of keyboards are going to be the thing that I'm on the lookout for. Now at this point, several songs into to covering this band, it should be for sure, but it doesn't make my enjoyment of that quality of theirs or that trait of theirs any less enjoyable when I encounter it. You know what I mean? And I think it's worth noting. Also, Burnell, his bass tone, I've always loved in every single track. It's no different here. Doesn't mean it's my favorite, example of it from what I've heard, but that too is undeniable. There's this chugging quality, and I think he and Jet Black are really great at creating the kind of this driving undercurrent to all of their songs, to the point where I say undercurrent, but I mean it goes from undercurrent to having overtones of those sounds. And as a rhythm guy who's played bass for most of his life, I really enjoy that. So yeah, it's been fun to listen to his style and again, I'll harp on this because it's not just what he plays, it's how it sounds, the tone that he gets out of his bass, his amp, or the combination of the two. Yeah, this was another really fun listen. I'm really interested to hear exactly what they're going for as far as the messaging in this track, and to kind of figure out where it goes from like a historical standpoint, like where it falls in the discography that we've covered to this point. So, anyway, all that out of the way, let's get back to John.
Keith Deller, he's back. So you've had to listen to Get a Grip on Yourself by Les Stranglers. Please tell all.
This was was this a video that was set to a live performance or something like? Because it was nice to be able to see
I
everybody.
believe the audio was studio,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. Just patched in over top. Nonetheless, it was still fun to watch
It's
them do
nice to
it.
see them. I was thinking, I don't think you've seen them in any of the rooms before,
No,
actually,
there was sort of the
before me.
wanted poster, and then there's the album cover and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that where you see them in still shots. But this
So
is
I thought
fun to see them kind of,
this would be
yeah.
fun, yeah.
And also, it looked like a cool place to see them because it has that
Yeah.
intimate quality that you like, where only a few people. 10 years later, you've got 15,000 people saying that they were there, but it was only like a few hundred or whatever.
Yeah.
So it had that kind of vibe going to it. Yeah, this is a really fun listen. I can say without even suggesting in any pejorative fashion, but was not my favorite of the Strangler songs, but it was still good. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a B plus, but their stuff has been like from A plus to A minus to this point. So what the hell am I, who I'm not judging, I'm just being honest. The song begins with four distinct chords played on the keyboard, all by Greenfield. That the gentleman's name? Yes, yes, yes. Who's I've come to appreciate as the band's kind of ace in the hole. They he you look at a four-piece band and you don't think you're gonna get this sound. With the multiple layers of different sounding and variants of keys, it just adds a little bit to that sort of, especially when you're going in there thinking like early post-punk or punk music and you've got that involved. So that was a lot of fun to listen. So he hits that four times. On the fifth, the whole band like kind of jumps along in with him, and there's this guitar quickly strumming away with great rapidity, and then Jean-Jacques Burnel, the bass player, thunderously chugging in with his bass, that fills out this lower end, along with his man Jet Black over there on drums, kind of holding down the whole rhythm section. But Burnell's bass is sort of my, probably no surprise to you, my second favorite facet of this band outside of what Greenfield brings with his arrangement and key work. But it's not even always what Burnell plays, it's how it sounds with his that style that I think I like it, I appreciate so much, because he gets a really interesting sound, whether it's through just the bass or the amp or sort of this Frankenstein work that he does between the two to create this very thunderous, almost hammery kind of sound to his style. So enjoyed that right out of the gate, and it was something I was looking for and keying in on, and there it was. Um, so then as Cornwell begins to deliver the first verse, Greenfield starts playing this fluttering, flighty, trilling melody on his keys. Akin to I don't think this is the first time I've ever said this on the channel, but it reminded me of a butterfly on crack cocaine. Like it was just the speed was there, but it had this fluttery nature. But like a hummingbird. It was instead of a butterfly, it was the flutter of a hummingbird. Because it was happening fast and it was all over the place, but a lot of fun to listen to. Also interesting to hear the vocal melody laid over top of that, because you would think that they would almost butt heads, or that it could easily be thrown off by how much movement there was in the keys. But Cornwell holds it down, which I guess is really no surprise. He sings, "Didn't have the money round to buy something that ends in ow." I couldn't catch the exact word or words there. Been around and seen a lot to shake me anyhow. I think it's shake me. Begged and borrowed, sometimes I admit I even stole, but the worst crime that I ever did was playing rock and roll. Which is interesting. Like I don't think he believes that, but I think maybe he's saying in the eyes of others, I could do this explicitly black and white wrong thing, like steal money or borrow and not pay someone back. But still in their eyes, it's all born of this rock and roll culture that tainted me or something like that. You know what I mean? Just, oh, blame it on the rock music, which I thought was kind of funny. And after a rapid fire drum fill by Jet Black, Cornwell follows this bit up with what happened. It appears to be the chorus or the refrain repeating, but the money's no good. Just get a grip on yourself, and that repeats. And then just before the part of the song evolved from the verse to the chorus, that wouldn't stop these keys from continuing. So even though they transition from the first verse to the chorus, the flighty motif didn't really change all too much. The one thing I'll say that I did notice was what sounded like a facsimile of a saxophone song injected or a sound with it. So it had these like it sounded like sort of slightly sustained sax notes. There was no sax player. But I did notice I never saw him playing it, but I again, genius that he is with it when it comes to like keys and arrangements. I saw that it was like three layers of fundum he was standing in front of over there. So I'm wondering if maybe he's doing like the trill crazy stuff with one hand and then during the chorus adding the what to me sounded like saxophone adjacent notes in there. Go ahead.
From hearing this from a kid, as a kid, I always thought that it was some sort of synthesized thing because it almost sounds like it's between a sax and a kazoo almost. It's
Yeah,
a very
yeah, yeah, yeah,
strange
yeah, yeah.
noise. It is a saxophone,
Oh, and a true
a real
saxophone.
one.
Oh
Real one.
wow. Okay, okay. See, because I was torn. I was like, I don't see one up there, and I'm looking. The
No,
stage was
no,
quite small.
I didn't know that until I did the research. I always assumed it was Greenfield doing stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. Well, given
yeah,
the options from a visual standpoint, that's kind of where I was left. You know what I mean? Thinking that he was synthing in these.
I'll explain further.
Okay, great, great. But that's really interesting and good to know. This chorus predictably leads us into the next verse, in which the narrative continues suffering convictions on a two-way stretch inside. The air in here is pretty thin. I think I'll go outside. Committed for insanity and crimes against the soul. The worst thing I ever did was play some rock and roll. So again, that's even more tongue. It's not like borrowing and not paying any money back or stealing a tenner or whatever. This is, crimes against the soul and still not worse than playing rock and roll. Go ahead.
very footloose, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thou
yeah,
shalt
you're
not
right. Yeah,
dance.
it all comes down to the dancing. We should never let dancing
Yeah.
get us down. That's funny. I didn't think about it, but you're spot on. So again, here he sings on the verse stanza by acknowledging, in spite of all his past indiscretions, that playing rock and roll is the worst of all the crimes that he's committed. We get another chorus after this, and then that's followed by this ooh vowel vocalization where Burnell gets in on it, and I think later with his pretty awesome horseshoe mustache, Greenfield gets in on this harmonizing too. So you're getting this layer, this vocal layers hitting you on this vowel vocalization. And he rattles off, he being Greenfield, rattles off this manic motif on different sets of keys that are laid out at his disposal, as I mentioned earlier. And it wouldn't be an episode dedicated to the Stranglers without acknowledging what he brings to the table. And this is a part where it really shined for me as well. And it was kind of fun to see it as opposed to just being able to hear it in the past. And some of this motif has that light fluttery bit, which then gives way to this almost oddly menacing organ tone when held up against it. I really wasn't expecting that much of a shift in sound and tone between what he was playing. And then it launches back into the preceding tone. And then now we're back into the third and final verse. And there are no allusions in this one to past indiscretions, which I thought was interesting. And I'm sure that there wasn't because it was the last. But there were these like veiled allusions to the sense of resignation and like this were like maybe his lot in life. And there was also this he alludes to the passing of time with week to week and this sentence sticking fast, which sounds like resignation to his lot in life, as I mentioned. But there's also this allusion to time escaping him or changing, I don't know, him or the scene or whatever. But it has things become a bit more murky from here lyrically. He mentions turning the corner, rubbing his eyes, and hoping the world will last. And then he welcomes this stranger from another planet to our hole. Before he sings, just strap on your guitar and we'll play some rock and roll. So it sounds like music is his, I don't know, coping mechanism, or at least this constant thing in his life. While the third verse suggests change is upon us, it's still like, let's fall back to what we know and what gives us comfort, and it's playing music. that's as best as I could piece together in one go of the song. So we get one final chorus, another bit of those really nice oohs from the gentleman, and then it ends on this sort of chiming chord. I really enjoyed the rhythmic nature and the movement of this song. And from a melodic standpoint, it's hard not to give the roses to that trill, heavy key motif, as earwormy as it is. Though it admittedly is not my favorite track by them, as mentioned, it's still really enjoyable. So John, tell me some more about this track, maybe the meaning thereof and where it falls kind of in the timeline that we've constructed here on what we've done from these guys.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, just to say, obviously we've done quite a few episodes now on the Stranglers, and there is a playlist. This will be added to it, the link below, and so you can go into that playlist and other episodes. The very first ones deal with the band, how they formed, history, blah blah blah. So I won't waste time on this. This is from their debut album, Ratus Norvegicus, 1977,
Okay.
and the
Wow.
song you listened to was the band's first ever single,
Oh,
released in
shit.
January 77. So this was their opening volley. And it was a double A side with London Lady. So, as you already mentioned, the personnel involved: Hugh Cornwell, lead vocals, electric guitar; Jean-Jacques Burnell, backing vocals, bass guitar; Dave Greenfield, keyboards; Jet Black, drums; and Eric Clark, tenor saxophone.
Oh, see, and I didn't see Mr. Clark on stage. I
No.
will jump in and say Burnell. He's very confident as he's chewing gum doing this because it looked like it for a while there. He was chewing gum while he was up there, just like just another day at the office for old Jean Jacques up there. It was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, they're all characters in their own way. But yeah, so Grip was written by Hugh Cornwell while the Stranglers were renting a house in Shillingford, where they've been based since 1975. He later said that he was, quote, very proud of it because it was my song completely. I was constantly writing songs by myself, and this is the first one where I felt I'd really cracked it.
Nice.
In the first line of the lyrics, there is a reference to a Mori Thou, which is a slang term for a Morris Minor 1000. I've never heard it being called that. Coincidentally, I used to own and drive a Morris 1300. British Racing Green, interesting suspension, and it had a thermometer speedo. So rather than a sort of dial, it was a bar with the numbers on, and then a red line would go up and down,
Oh.
indicating what speed you were doing.
Yeah.
Incredible. Them were the days. Anyway, so in 1976, Grip was sent as a 3-track demo along with Bitching and Go Buddy Go to various record labels in an attempt to sign a record deal. Martin Rushett, who had been working as an engineer for a number of years, took the role of assistant to the head of A&R at United Artists Records. On his first day in this new job, he was played the demo of Grip and was asked for his opinion on whether United Artists should sign the Stranglers. Rushett's response was, well, on the strength of that song, I would sign them tomorrow. So he then went and saw the Stranglers perform at the Red Crow in Hammersmith, Red Cow, sorry, in Hammersmith, and he signed them and offered to produce them as well.
Oh, wow.
So they signed at the beginning of December, and immediately went into the studio and recorded. So this is December 76. This is how quick things go. They went into the studio, recorded Grip and London Lady, and the single was released on the 28th of January, 1977, so a month.
Sounds wildly serendipitous for all parties involved. This guy gets promoted and then this band lands in his lap. That's great.
So, Get a Grip on Yourself features a saxophone by a Welsh coal miner called Eric Clark, who happened to be a friend of the Stranglers' co-manager Di Davis, so they got him involved.
That's great.
But it is. Following its release,
sax player.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is very much like of its time, I think. Following its release, Grip was moderately successful, spending 4 weeks in the UK top 50, and it peaked at number 44. Now, apparently, there was an error by the chart compilers BMRB. Now, this happened a lot. there was all sorts of fiddles and dodgy stuff going on, and people buying block loads of records at certain places they knew there would only be like maybe, I don't know, a dozen or 2 dozen shops where they counted the numbers and then extrapolated that out as the general population. You know, there's EPOS now where you can actually track all sales. So people go along and get 20 copies of, By the Rivers of Babylon, and bang, it was there. But anyway, in this, the sales for Grip were accidentally assigned to Silver Convention's Everybody's Talking About Love. So that song peaked at number 25 in the first week of February. However, by the time the error was noticed, it was too late to rectify. Despite having sold 15,000 copies in its second week, Grip only entered the chart the second week, and it reached its peak 2 weeks later with the single unable to improve on the initial sales it received. I mean, that would probably get you in the top 5 nowadays, well, before streaming, but the last remnants of physical stuff. But yeah, interesting. So it all bollocked up. I mean, it turned out right from the
I was going to say it worked out for me
been...
in the long run.
Yeah. The Enemy described the record as a stunning double-sided single of distinctive, intelligent, contemporary rock and roll that sounds like Roxy Music would have if that old Captooth smoothie ferry had been influenced by the Doors. So, the lyrics. Didn't have the money round to buy a Maury Thou. Been around and seen a lot to shake me anyhow. Begged and borrowed sometimes, I admit I even stole, but the worst crime that I ever did was playing rock and roll. But the money's no good. Get a grip on yourself, but the money's no good to get a grip on yourself. Suffering convictions on a two-way stretch inside. The air in here is pretty thin. I think I'll go outside. Committed for insanity and crimes against the soul. The worst crime that I ever did was play some rock and roll. But the money's no good, get a grip on yourself. But the money's no good, just get a grip on yourself. And you should know. Ooh, etc. Bit of a light instrumental. Now I find from week to week the sentence sticking fast. Turn the corner, rub my eyes, and hope the world will last. Stranger from another planet, welcome to our hole. Just strap on your guitar and we'll play some rock and roll. But the money's not good, go grab yourself. So you should know. Ooh, do, 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 ooh. Ooh. There you go. So I would like to highlight a few things. Imagine this is the debut single. Really interesting and how their impact was. And the key thing which you mentioned was Dave Greenfield. Hugh Cornwell summed it up best when, after responding to the news of his death, he said that he was a difference between the Stranglers and every other punk band. His musical skill and gentle nature gave an interesting twist to the band.
Yeah.
And from The Guardian, on news of his death, they wrote, his contributions were the solitary aspect of the Stranglers' music you might describe as beautiful. Everything else about them was relentlessly, willfully nasty, as their song title suggests. If it makes for profoundly uncomfortable listening now, Problematic barely begins to cover some of the lyrical content. Their music has a remarkable power, a sense of unceasing misanthropic hostility. But they sounded less like a punk band than a band that predated punk, that sprang out of that weird liminal period immediately prior to 1976, where the bleakness of mid-70s Britain has seeped into rock's fringes, the tougher end of the pub rock scene, the more thuggish bits of late period glam, but not yet been codified into a series of musical diktats. So yeah, you can hear in all this their first efforts to be realized in physical form, and already underneath all that growling aggression, which someone like Cornwell does really well, the musicianship comes through, particularly Dave Greenfield's keyboard displays.
It's funny,
and it's not quite Rick Wakeman here, but he, as you say, these multiple layers doing this stuff. Yeah.
It's also juxtaposed to, in my mind, what gives the band that brutality that they're talking about, or just the roughness, is that for me, it's the combination of Black and Burnell and the rhythm section, which they're hammering at points, and you hear this, And not that, like you said, it's not this, it's, if it was standalone, would it be as beautiful as it is when it's juxtaposed with
Yes.
its musical antithesis and somehow works with that? You know what I mean? And that's the real interesting thing, is that he was able to dovetail into this sound that you would think would repel something like organ notes or some of the lighter stuff, the lighter stuff that he does. Which, so I think the way that they make it work and that it works is what's so impressive about it.
Yeah, I mean, lazy writing from journalists is labeled, and you heard them as the Doors makes punk. However, um, the punk movement was instantly suspicious of a band that were technically as proficient as they were.
Yeah,
Um,
of course,
and
yeah.
of course, Dave Greenfield also sported something which was very anti-punk, which was a 1970s moustache. You didn't see any punk band with
No,
any sort of
it's
facial.
actually a very prog rock mustache.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And oh god, what's the film? Oh, think about, is it Serious Minds? What's it called? Where the mathematical, you imagine some of his compositions go out and all over the place.
Yeah, a beautiful. Is it A Beautiful Mind?
Beautiful Minds, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But you see the numbers floating in the air, and it's almost like the notes are the same thing. And
yeah.
they have these sort of crystalline compositions that are circular and come round and then resolve. And that's
Absolutely.
kind of what I get from it. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening to this, Andy. I should wrap things up.
Thank you.
Yeah, first blast of the Stranglers. I thought you'd get a kick out of hearing their very first single.
Yeah, it's cool. That's the
Um,
first one.
it is, yeah. Folks out there, please tell us what you think. Do hit the like button if you like this. I'm fond of this song, and it may not be their best, but most of this so it's pretty good, and this is one of them. So yeah, do drop some comments. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. So hop on board. That being said, thanks so much for watching. And we'll see all of you in the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you guys.